Just ahead, the winners are in. We have team coverage of last night's primary elections.
It was a disappointing finish for David Trone here tonight, but he still has hopes for a Democratic win in the Senate this November. I've got that coming up on CTV News.
She is one step closer in shattering an important glass ceiling, and if you ask her, she can do it. I'm Katara Jones. I have more details from the Alsobrooks election watch night party coming up on CTV News.
Plus, our continued look into the blueprint for Maryland's future. Those stories and more up next on CTV News.
Well, there were some winners and losers last night. The 2024 primary presidential elections had some surprises and predictability. We have team coverage on all the races from the school board seats to the U.S. Senate race. Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Byron Scott. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, Angela Alsobrooks and her campaign silenced the naysayers last night in a sweeping victory. Alsobrooks became the Democratic Party's nominee for U.S. Senate from Maryland. CTV's Katara Jones was at the Alsobrooks election watch party last night with more.
It was a tough fight, but Angela Alsobrooks did it. She defeated fellow Democrat David Trone in Maryland's Democratic primary. She will now face Republican Larry Hogan in November to become Maryland's next U.S. Senator.
Maryland! Thank you, Maryland!
Angela Alsobrooks took the stage Tuesday night and thanked her supporters after clinching the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate.
And really, I just want to say thank you so sincerely to every single one of you who have welcomed me in your living rooms. You have welcomed me in your backyards. You have had me at your dinner tables. You have believed. And I thank you so much.
During her victory speech, Alsobrooks acknowledged that the road to Congress won't be easy, but she also didn't waste time throwing jabs at her Republican opponent, Larry Hogan.
Now, Larry Hogan has said he's a lifelong Republican, and if he's elected, he will give Republicans the majority that they need to pass a national abortion ban. And you should also be clear that he will not support a national law to protect abortion rights.
Alsobrooks had the backing of many county and state leaders, and many of them came out to support her. One of her biggest backers is Governor Wes Moore, who got the crowd riled up.
And for all those people who say it's not time. For all those people who said we need to wait our time. For all those people who say the state's not ready. For all those people who question whether or not we can win in November. Y'all, this war is waged and they've never seen an army like this.
The Alsobrooks campaign will just have only a few months to rally support behind her in order to win big this November. Katara Jones, CTV News.
And the battle over who will be Maryland's next senator is underway. Democrat Angela Alsobrooks will take on Republican Larry Hogan in November. Hogan has already received the backing of Democrat former State Senator Bobby Zirkin. Alsobrooks, on the other hand, has a chance to make history this November. If she wins, she will become the first black person from Maryland to be elected to the U.S. Senate. And it was a shocking night for supporters of Congressman David Trone, the multimillionaire who pumped over $61 million of his own money into his campaign. Trone told the crowd the Democratic fight goes on and that he stands in support of his competitor. CTV's Mariah Jalab was in Baltimore last night as he conceded.
Despite big spending and big endorsements from the Prince George's County delegation, the Associated Press has called the U.S. Senate Democratic primary against David Trone and in favor of Angela Alsobrooks. For many supporters earlier in the night, it was hard to imagine a scenario where Trone would lose this election.
Ultimately, one thing I've always told folks is that Maryland has no shortage of talent. Whoever we bring in November is going to beat Larry Hogan, but I'm definitive that that's going to be Congressman David Trone.
As somebody who won by 6 votes, never say never. We put it all out on the field, and we've got to be able to wait until all the votes are counted.
As of Tuesday night, projections have him almost 10% behind Angela Alsobrooks. Lots of supporters are here at his election night watch party, and they're waiting for him to come out and speak.
We must continue to move forward. We've got to move forward as a party. I called my opponent. We had a chat. I conceded, wished her best of luck, offered our support, and I need all of you to come together to support the Democratic Party so we can hold this U.S. Senate.
As Trone said, he will be supporting Also Brooks in her race against Hogan in November. We'll be waiting to see if Trone's other endorsements make that switch over to Angela Also Brooks. I'm Mariah Jalad in Baltimore for CTV News.
And the results of Maryland's congressional races are in with no big surprises. In the 5th District, longtime Congressman Steny Hoyer defeated Quincy Barabee 71% to 12%. Hoyer, who has been in Congress since 1981, will face Republican Michelle Talkington in the fall. And in District 4, incumbent Glenn Ivey, who was first elected to the House in 2022, defeated Gabriel Njimembot 84% to 6%. He'll face Republican George McDermott in November. And school board elections also took place yesterday. Tiffany Onderful won District 1 with 46% of votes, beating incumbent David Murray, who's been on the board since 2016. In District 5, Zipporah Miller keeps her seat for another 2 years. Incumbent Kenneth Harris II beat out his opponents for the District 7 seat. And in District 8, Angela Jones won her election, beating out the incumbent Madeline Frazier by more than 25%. Intense moments at the State House in Annapolis after a bomb threat is called in. Police say they received a call just before 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon from a woman who claimed to have planted a bomb at the State House. Police quickly sent out an alert evacuating the facility. Nearby streets were blocked off while police and K-9 units searched the building. No device was found, and police gave the all clear just before 5:30. And commuters on Metro's Green Line may experience delays this afternoon as Metro Transit Police investigate the death of a woman who was struck and killed on the tracks. Police were called to the College Park Metro station just after 1:30 this afternoon. The investigation into the incident is ongoing. Meantime, Metro says Green Line trains are single track between Greenbelt and College Park, and you can expect delays in both directions. Shuttle buses will also be on hand to assist passengers on their journey. And county police are investigating the death of a man in the town of Berwyn Heights. Police were called to a home on the 8600 block of Cunningham Drive just after 10:30 Sunday night. That's where they found 54-year-old Sandeep Gupta unresponsive. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The medical examiner has ruled his death a homicide, and detectives are working to identify a suspect and a motive. If you have any information, give police a call at 1-866-411-TIPS. And police are investigating a fatal hit-and-run incident that occurred last night in Landover. It happened at the intersection of Martin Luther King Jr. Highway and Columbia Park Drive. That's where the responding officers found an adult female in the roadway. She was taken to a local hospital and pronounced dead. Anyone with information on the case asked to call police at 866-411-TIPS. And you're watching CTV News. Coming up, part 3 of CTV's deep dive into the blueprint for Maryland's education plan. Tonight we focus on Pillar 3, college and career readiness. Back in a bit.
Elmer loves to giggle. Elmer's mommy told him that laughing can help when you have a big feeling, like when you feel happy. Make sure to celebrate when you're happy and laugh it out. Love your mind.
And in just a matter of weeks, thousands of high school seniors will be graduating. Many will be heading off to college, while others will be joining the workforce. Tonight, you'll hear from state education leaders as they work with school districts across the state to implement Pillar 3 of the blueprint for Maryland's future. CTV's Katera Jones has our story.
I like to view the third pillar as like the big meat and potatoes of the blueprint, honestly, because it encompasses so many different pieces.
Pillar 3 of the blueprint for Maryland's future focuses on college and career readiness. However, that doesn't start when a student enters high school. In fact, Dr. Deanne Collins says getting a student college or career ready starts as early as pre-K.
Pillar 3 really is all of the grade levels. And so it's ensuring that our school systems have very high quality instruction materials in literacy and mathematics, have clear plans that outline what students should know and be able to do. What's the vision for literacy and mathematics in each of their districts?
Through this pillar, a student must be able to meet the state's new College and Career Readiness Standard, known as CCR. The Maryland State Board of Education adopted the revised CCR standard back on January 23rd.
To be clear, when we talk about curriculum standards, it's really what students should know and be able to do at each grade level. So now that this CCR standard, the College and Career Readiness Standard, has been set, we at the state right now will be convening stakeholders to look at our standards. For example, in literacy, our literacy standards haven't been reviewed since 2008.
Under the pillar, there are 2 ways students can meet the new CCR standard. In option 1, a student can earn a high school GPA of 3.0 or higher and earn a grade of an A, B, or C in Algebra 1, or score proficient or above on the Algebra 1 MCAP. However, in option 2, a student can score proficient or above in English and Language Arts 10 and Algebra 1 MCAP assessments.
Now that we know, for example, in math, we need students to be ready to meet the Algebra 1 requirement, right? For example, we need to look back and say, okay, what are the standards that students are expected to know and do in order to achieve algebra? Are our courses still aligned to the standards? Are instruction materials still aligned? So we'll be doing that alignment work. We won't look at every standard for every single grade level, but it would be like the core courses and grade levels that lead into algebra proficiency.
Another point in Pillar 3 requires that students must be college or career ready by the end of 10th grade. The state says local education agencies known as LEAs, which refer to school districts, play a big role in this effort.
It's something that school administrators should be in touch with, their students, understanding where they are, looking at the data, understanding the full holistic picture of the student, and then using resources to make sure that some of these gaps aren't continually perpetuated over time.
But what if a student doesn't meet the standard?
We know that there are going to be some of our kiddos that don't meet the standard by the end of 10th grade. And, Blueprint acknowledges those pieces and says when that happens, then support pathways come into play. And some of the best practices that we know in education is not every student learns the same way. And really, when we think about those support pathways, the way that I like to think about those is we're really accelerating all of the different instructional tools that we have in our tool set to make sure that students are able to conceptualize the theory in a way that's understandable and digestible to them.
The state does not mandate that there must be a college and career counselor at every high school. Officials say some school districts simply don't have the funding for it. However, what is required is that each school district must have a career counseling program.
On some of our campuses, we have a career coach, a physical person who is doing the verb of career coaching, but it really takes all of us in the school system to make sure that we have guest speakers in classrooms, to make sure that our curriculum standards that Dr. Collins spoke about align not only to the college readiness elements, but also to make sure students are ready for the apprenticeship opportunities, are ready to take an industry recognized credential or whatever else the student wants to do in order to prepare them for what's next after graduation.
The state wants to ensure that students who want to join the workforce after graduation have participated in internships or apprenticeships. That's why in the plan, by the 2030 to 2031 academic school year, 45% of high school graduates must have completed a registered apprenticeship program or earn an industry credential.
Really, the cherry on top, the gold standard, though, becomes an apprenticeship program. So a student being able to move into a job, learn from somebody who is in that field, and then, once that apprenticeship is over, have an employment opportunity with the employer that has provided that experience to them.
Reporting on the blueprint for Maryland's future, Katara Jones, CTV News.
And still to come on CTV News, one retailer targets LGBTQ merchandise for the upcoming celebrations. We'll have that story after the break.
Tell me about your prep.
How can I describe it? DOD, Day of Defecation.
Every time I moved, I pooped my pants. So tell me why you got a colonoscopy.
It was important. There's a family history. The doctor said, look, we need to go up there.
Right.
We need to see what's up there.
Get that camera up there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially as guys, I'm glad we're having this conversation. We have got to take matters into our own hands.
100%. I'm the owner of my own health, so I have to find out.
Welcome back. The Maryland Higher Education Commission wants to increase the number of students in Maryland completing the FAFSA. The deadline was extended from March 15th to today, May 15th. Each year, the Commission provides about 65,000 students with more than $130 million in financial aid to attend colleges. For resources and more information on the Maryland Higher Education Commission, visit mhec.maryland.gov. And retail giant Target has announced that it will limit the number of stores that carry the LGBTQ themed merchandise, and what they do have will be tailored to adults. No Pride apparel for children will be sold. Last year, Target was the target of a social media fueled boycott by some shoppers who disagree with the retailer's decision to sell swimsuits for trans people. The merchandise will be available at select locations. And it's Wednesday. You know what that means. It's time for our Pet of the Week. Meet Rascal. He's a 12-year-old cat. Animal management says that Rascal loves to cuddle.
Somebody who kind of stays home a lot, but isn't subject to being on his own. So I would definitely say someone who has the time to cater to him while he's at home and pet him and things like that.
And if you'd like to adopt Rascal or any of his rascally friends, call Animal Management at 301-780-7200. And still to come on the news, 3 UMD players are getting some recognition. Simon Buggs with our Wednesday Sports page after the break. Stay tuned.
What's up, everyone? And coming right up, 3 Terps lacrosse players receive an honor for their outstanding play, and Washington Commanders head coach Dan Quinn gives his thoughts on what his points of emphasis are during the team's OTA workouts. Stay right there.
Did you know that wherever it can rain or snow, it can flood? Spring weather can be unpredictable, and as snow and ice melts, it can turn into a messy problem, including unexpected flooding. Just 1 inch of water can cause more than $25,000 in damage to your home. But with flood insurance through the National Flood Insurance Program, you can rest easy knowing your home is protected. To learn more, contact an insurance agent today and know that you're protected tomorrow.
All right, everyone, it's time for your midweek sports page. The UMD men's lacrosse squad is absolutely loaded with talent, and that was recognized as 3 key members of the team in defenseman Ajax Zapatello, faceoff specialist Luke Weirman, and attacker and midfielder Eric Spanos were all named All-Americans. This is Zapatello's 3rd All-American selection, but his first time receiving first-team honors. The number 3 pick in the 2024 PLL draft, Zapatello is viewed as one of the best defensemen in the country. Zapatello has had 23 turnovers this season, which has led the team, and he currently ranks 10th all-time in career turnovers at Maryland with 71. This is also Weirman's third time being named an All-American as well. The Pennsylvania native has a 61.3 face-off win percentage, which is third in the nation, and his 8.38 ground balls per game average is ranked 6th in the country. Weirman's 829 career face-off victories are the most in the program's history. And finally, Spanos' great play earned him his first All-American selection this season. He totaled 23 goals as well as 11 assists for 34 points, which are all ranked top 3 on the team. Zappatello, Weirman, Spanos, and the rest of the Terps will take the field next versus Duke in the NCAA quarterfinals on Saturday. Moving on to the NFL, the Commanders began the next phase of off-season training as OTA workouts are now underway. OTAs began yesterday and will last until June 7th. And head coach Dan Quinn says he wants the team to use this time to learn the new playbook and practice situational drills.
I think number one, big playbook, obviously, to put in, and then little bits of it as you're going. And so, like, did some at veteran camp, did some with the rookies, and so this is an extension of that. In addition to, I don't think it's ever too early, Ben, to start on some situations. You know, here's a 2-minute at the half. Here's all the ones that come up. So we'll do that as often as we can. By nature, the OTA is more of a passing camp, and that's where the emphasis will be. And then in training camp, you know, there'll be some shifting on that. But I'm looking for efficiency, I'm looking for speed, and really just the detail that's going into the calls.
Switching gears to the WNBA, the Washington Mystics took the court last night for their first game of the season. Washington took the court against the New York Liberty and unfortunately fell to the team as New York came out on top in a close game, 85-80. The Mystics will try and get their first win of the season when they match up next against the Connecticut Sun on Friday. And wrapping up sports, the UMD women's lacrosse squad will be in action tomorrow as they will take the field against Florida in the quarterfinal round of the NCAA tournament. The game begins at noon. And that wraps up your Wednesday sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
Thank you, Simon. Let's get a quick check now on our 3-day weather forecast tonight. Scattered showers with a low of 58. Thursday, mostly cloudy with a slight chance of showers after 2 p.m. Temps will reach 73 during the day and fall to 58 at night. Friday, partly sunny with a high of 75 and a low of 58. And Saturday, the rain returns with a chance of thunderstorms all day with a high of 68 and a low of 58. And now for the community calendar, come out to the public playhouse as the Brencore All-Stars present a show that revisits the work of the wonderfully unique Phyllis Hyman. They'll be performing classic hits like Betcha by Golly Wow, You Know How to Love Me, and Don't Want to Change the World, and more. The concert is only for people 60 years old and over. It takes place May 17th from 11 o'clock in the morning until 12 noon. For more information, call 301-277-1710. And that's our news for tonight. I'm Byron Scott. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.
Heather and I had an argument just like any other couple. I was lost and lonely. I had snapped. I had a gun and I was going to take my own life. Heather helped me realize that there was still life to live. For the better of myself, my family, my weapon is now safely put away.
My son, Ricky, took his life by the use of a firearm. It broke me in ways that I never knew that I could be broken. And I contemplated suicide. Afterwards, we found out his girlfriend, she was pregnant. If that was my grandson, I was gonna have to be here for him. I still own my firearm. I keep it in a safe because I want to keep my grandson and myself safe.
A moment of crisis can happen to anyone.
Store your gun securely, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo.
See that magic?
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
do this just a little bit so we hide this.
How does Lyme disease make you feel? It makes me, well, I don't have a lot of friends and I always forget stuff.
Rylan is really this magical kid. Since the day he was born, made people's hearts, get bigger and burst. It was right after the pandemic, and I call it falling off a cliff. My son was not who he was 3 days ago. So a lot of OCD, rocking back and forth. From the day our world changed, it took almost 4 years to find out that Rylan actually had Lyme disease. Rylan's resilience is what keeps me strong. He didn't deserve it. No child deserves it. You just have to pursue and keep pushing and find the right specialists and never, ever, ever give up on your child.